All right. So here we go. District 37 training, club president. Everything that you probably didn't want to know about your job, but were afraid to ask. Okay, so our objectives for tonight, and hopefully I'm not going to be too long, is to know and understand what it is that you got yourself into, and maybe help you understand those things that you thought you know or didn't know. Okay, the duties of your position, how to plan your year, leadership expectations, where to find resources, how to enjoy your year, because you should be able to enjoy your year. Okay. So the roles and duties of the president. You are the CEO. The buck stops with you. Okay. Yeah, you have a club and the club makes decisions, but you have an influence on those decisions that the club wants to do. Okay. So you need to remember you're at the top of the bar graph on this one. Okay. Everything funnels through you. Okay. The club can run without you, but it probably won't run as well as if you're in charge and you let everybody know that you're in charge. Okay. But not to be a dictator. Okay. You are the leader. So make sure that everybody understands and lead. Okay. Don't let the dog, or don't let the tail wag the dog. Okay. You're the dog. No, you run the club because you're the CEO. Call and preside at the club, the board of directors, if your club has one, and any special meetings, the meetings that you call, right? Because you're the one that calls those meetings. Now, that doesn't mean that the chair of a project can't have a meeting with the people that are in his project. That's fine, right? But any special meetings of the whole club, you call. Okay? You appoint committee chairs. Now, that's not to say you just look around and say, John, you're doing this, Susie, you're doing this, Mary Gail, you're doing this. Now, you want to be sure that your committee chairs are interested in what it is in the project that they want to do. So find out what those individuals are interested in. Okay, maybe they're interested in Plus Optics and they want to do that. Okay, there's a good chair member because they're interested in it. Somebody that's interested in really likes to clean the highway. If you find one of those, let me know because they're far and few in between. Okay, let them be your committee chairs. But let the club know what committees need to be and try to pick the best. Ensure regular elections are called. It's very important, right? Our Constitution and our bylaws gives us absolute direction in what we have to do. Understand that elections have to be held and it has to be secret ballot. There is no elections by acclamation. There has to be secret ballot as per the Constitution. And be sure you have regular elections. Then you're going to have elections for board members too. Okay. One of your responsibilities as the president is to attend the cabinet meetings, the district cabinet, any zone meetings, any region meetings, right? Because you are the representative from the district to your club. And if you don't know what the district's doing, then it's a little hard to inform the club as to what's going on. Because there may be some things that the district is doing that you and your club might want to participate in. And you won't know those unless you attend the cabinet, zone, or region meetings. You're not going to get all the information you need right off the website. You'll get some ideas of what everybody else is doing, but a lot of that information is in the cabinet. Okay? And make a report at the zone meetings. Let the zone chair know what it is that you and your club are doing. And the reason I say that is because when I was district governor, one of the things that I found as I visited clubs, I learned what your clubs were doing, and I was able to take that same information back to other clubs and let them know what we're doing. As a matter of fact, our club here at Sunburst is doing plastic film recycling through Nextrex. I learned that from one of the Billings clubs. And we just got done doing 1,000 pounds and got a free bench made out of trucks. So that's one of the reasons why you as the CEO want to get out and attend some of these other meetings so you can learn what's going on in the district. Okay. So the chief executive, okay, your authority in the club is not absolute. You're not a dictator, okay? And actually, the club members can decide over you, or the board can decide over you if you're doing things wrong, or if the club wants to do something even though you don't want to do it, the club wants to do it, the club can do it. And your authority comes from the club as a whole, like I just said. If the club wants to do something you don't, it's not going to happen. If you want to do something and the club doesn't, again, they're letting you know this is something that the club doesn't want to do. So again, you're not a dictator. Your club constitution and bylaws. Now, if your club does not have a constitution and bylaws that they've made up, then the LCI standard club constitution and bylaws applies. So you should know what that is from the board of directors. Okay. Some clubs have them, some don't. Some of the bigger clubs do. And that is a whole different ballgame because they're a board and they're elected by the club as a representative. And they pretty much make decisions on finances and a lot of other things. Okay, so the board consists of the president, which is you, the immediate past president. So just because you were president last year and now you're not doesn't mean you get out of doing things because you're still stuck as an IPP, okay? The vice president's the secretary, the treasurer. There's a 2-year and a 1-year directors, your membership, chairperson, and any optional members that you want. Sometimes those optional members are your tail twister, lion tamer, and club branch coordinator. Club branch coordinator should be there if your club has a branch. And your club branch coordinator is in your club, not in the branch club. Okay? If applicable. All right. Duties of the board of directors: review and refer all new business appropriately, shape new policies. So the board is good to have, especially if there is a change in the way that the club wants to do something. Because I'm here to tell you, if you start doing this at a club meeting, let's say you've got 20 members in your club and they're all there, you're going to spend hours debating this, and it may or may not happen. Where the board of directors only has maybe 6 or 7, they can come up with a consensus and make the change. It's a lot easier to do some changes with the board of directors than it is with the whole club, only because you get so much debate. Approve expenditures, arrange for audits. So your board of directors should get a budget that you put together so that they can approve all the expenditures. And I've been trying to get our club to do it because every time we have a project that we do, we sit there and debate how much money we're going to give to that project so they know what to do, whether it's a Mother's Day lunch or a parade or, whatever it happens to be. And instead of just saying, okay, we're going to give them $500, we end up with a half an hour debate on how much money they should get. The board of directors, here's the budget, this is what they're going to get, and it makes it really easy. Approve financial institution bonding. My club doesn't have a bond, but some do, and all that does is protect the club from theft. That's the easiest way to say it. Okay, so that your treasurer doesn't abscond with some money, or say a committee chair during a fundraiser takes a bunch of money. A lot of clubs do, some don't. Not mandatory. Maintain 2 separate accounts, one for administrative and one for public. Now, LCI Legal says the money can be in a single account, okay? But it has to be separated out. So if somebody was to look at it, you can say, here's administrative money, here's public money, even though it's in one account, okay? And what I've done, because I'm the treasurer of our club, we have one account, but I have Quicken. And so I have shares and checking. Checking is public money, shares is admin money. Even though it's all in one account, it's fully separated and you can see it. You can see how it moves back and forth, okay?
Jesse, take care of that.
Modify, overrule, or rescind officer actions. That's what I said. The board can make those rules. So if you've got a committee chair that's doing something wrong, they can overrule that officer. And if you are doing something wrong, the board can overrule you. Again, as a president, you're not a dictator. Okay, planning. Before your term begins, your planning should start now. Okay, if you're planning on being the club president come July, these are the things you need to start looking at right now. Understand your members' motivations. Remember I said in committees, committee chairs, don't just pick somebody. Find out what your members like or dislike, okay? And try to fit them with what their passions are. Whether it's cooking or cleaning the highway or whatever it happens to be, okay? You're gonna have some that hate to attend meetings. Matter of fact, they don't ever come to a meeting, but they love to help. They can still be a committee chair. Okay, you can still assign them to a committee because you're giving them what they like, and that may very well bring them back into the fold into attend meetings. Review the club officers team manual, which you can find online at the district website. Participate in district events. We've already mentioned that, conventions, meetings. If you haven't attended a convention, you're really missing out. The district conventions are a lot of fun. I'll tell you, the LCI convention every year is a hoot. I went to my first one as first vice, and I've been to every one since. Although I'm not going to Australia this year. I can't afford it. I really envy Raleigh Peck because LCI is going to pay for him to go there.
Yay.
Okay, so, but attend these events, all right? Participate in club officer training. It's important. Well, I'm glad to have you here tonight. This is part of it, okay? If you haven't been to the USA Canada Forum, do so. Go to the university there, sign up, it's free, and take the bachelor's program. It's for club officers. Go on and take the master's, okay? There is a tremendous amount of information there that you can learn. That's where I got most of this information. Because you do it on your own. What? So, you want to be familiar with your club and standard form, constitution, and bylaws, the LA2. LA2 is the LCI standard constitution and bylaws. Some clubs out there have built their own, okay? But they built them around the Lions Club's constitution and bylaws. You should read this. You should understand. It's not that long, so it probably wouldn't put you to sleep, but it might get you started. Okay, the district's constitution and bylaws. Ours is on the website. Okay, MontanaLions.org. You can go there and you can see the Lions and you can see the district's constitution and bylaws. the LA1, which is the International Constitution and Bylaws. So you want to start early on your elections. Okay. So one of the things you want to do is step all over your current club president. Okay. Work with that club president. Let the club president know what you want to do. You know, Mr. and Mrs. President, I'd like to get together with the first vice and start working with he or she and start working on my cabinet and doing those things so I know where I'm going, what I'm doing on July 1st and hit the ground running. So don't forget that the club president until July 1st is still in charge. So you don't want to walk all over that person by, you know, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. Meet with the incoming officers, you know, so you know who the treasurer is, you know who the secretary is going to be, you know who your first and second vices are going to be, your membership committee, your chaplain, you know, all of those. Meet with them so they have an idea of where you're at and where you're coming from, and they can get on board with you. Appoint your chairs and committee members. Again, understanding that. Have everyone ready to start July 1st. It's surprising the number of clubs when I was governor that went July, August, September, October. They still did not have their club officers into the LCI. So nobody in the district level knew who was doing what because they weren't prepared. They just naturally assumed, well, I'm club president. Here we go. We're just doing things like we've always done. Oh, okay. That's not necessarily a good outcome. Okay. Be in charge. Be ready. Everybody knows where you're going and what you're doing. If replacing someone, talk to the ones you're replacing. You know, John's been doing the highway cleanup for 25 years. He's in charge of it. Okay. And for you to just arbitrarily tell John, sorry, John, you're out. Steve's the new chairman. Well, how do you think John feels? Get together with John. You know, there's ways around it. John, you've done an outstanding job in the highway cleanup. I tell you what, would you be willing to let Steve chair it this year? Okay. But I want you to chair it or co-chair it and help him out. And a term I always use in the military is, John, what happens if you die? I'm not going to let that happen, but what happens if you die? Nobody knows what you know about the highway cleanup. So I need to have you tutor Steve for me. Would you be willing to do that? So you're not taking the highway cleanup away from him. You're asking him to train somebody else just in case. All right. And chances are, if you approach it that way, it'll probably work out okay. But don't just walk up to John and say, yep, John, you're out. Steve's in. Sucks to be you. That's not necessarily a good way to go. Okay. Secretary and treasurer duties. I'm the president. I have a secretary and treasurer. Why do I need to know what they do or what they know? Well, if you don't know what they're doing, how do you know whether they're doing it right or wrong? You're the CEO. You're in charge of all this. So if the secretary or the treasurer screws up, or the secretary doesn't put in all the new officers on July 1st, who are they going to call to find out what's going on? Not the secretary. They're going to call you, the president, and ask you, what's going on here? How come this hasn't happened? All right? Again, the buck stops with you, Mr. or Mrs. President. Meet to discuss record keeping. Okay? Don't tell the treasurer how to do it. Ask the treasurer how they plan on doing it. Okay? So that you have an idea of what it is that they're going to do. So since you have to do something, you know what's going on. But that tells the secretary, you now know what's going on. Okay? financial, member, minutes, committees, etc., all of that. How do you plan on taking care of this? How do you plan on being sure everything's in LCI? Because I'm going to check from time to time to be sure changes have been done, stuff like that. That lets the secretary know that you, the boss, is going to check up on them every once in a while. Okay, reporting board of the directors, club, districts, LCI. Find out what they're doing, how they're doing it, so that they understand also what's going on. Signing authority, especially at the bank, that's always the biggest thing when you have a new treasurer, a new president, especially if the vice isn't on the checking account. Okay, so the treasurer now has to be sure they get together with the bank, and if they're like mine, you've got to have the minutes indicating who the new officers are and who is going to have signing authority and not, so the bank can put it in your record. Bonding, if you're going to do it with the bank. Okay. Treasurer's duties. They do more than just take the money from the tail twister and pick up dues. They pay all the bills, give the committees the monies. Okay. They establish the two accounts. Administrative is Lions money. It's dues. It could be something that some company out there hired you, the club, to do something for them. That's administrative money. That's not a fundraiser. Okay. Administrative money can be used for anything, but it cannot be used for the benefit of a club member. In other words, Sam's in a bad way and we want to pay his utility bills. Nope. Can't do that. Right? So, but that doesn't say that you couldn't take a pass the hat to do that. As long as it doesn't enter the account, you can pass the hat, hand him the cash, tell him to have a nice day. That's okay. So, dues, fines, 50-50. My club does a brunch for one of the local companies that they have for all of their outside people that work for them and buy from them. And they pay us $1,000 to put this luncheon on. Administrative money. It makes it a big deal to have that extra, okay, besides dues. Activities, public money, all fundraisers. All of that money has to go back to the community in one form or another. Now, Steve, who is not a Lion, all right, you want to help him with his utility bills, you can do that because Steve is a public member and not a Lion. Okay? But if he's a Lion, you can't help him, all right? From public and never, again, used for Lions. That's the same as the admin money for Lions benefit. Okay? A budget. You should have a budget. Okay? You should get together with the upcoming treasurer and sit down and maybe with the outgoing president and the outgoing treasurer and try to come up with a budget of looking at everything that your club does last year or the last 2 years and figure out money coming in, money going out. Where is it coming from? Where is it going to? As the club president or the club treasurer, that would be a good thing to have in your very first meeting in July. This is where we look at. This is where the club is at. Okay. Resources, working with officers and committees. Lions Learning Center. Again, there's the USA Canada Forum. There's training on our district website, montanalions.org. There's training on LCI, my LCI. There's all kinds of other training. But specifically at the USA Canada Forum, there are specific courses on delegation, okay? I have seen clubs that run solely because the president does it all. My club, when I joined, our president did everything. And the club
That,
basically didn't do anything. Oh yeah, we helped. I mean, we cleaned the highway or we flipped pancakes or whatever, but the president was doing everything. And when we got to looking at membership, there was 30 members that had been members that quit.
because they didn't do
When I
anything.
became president, we went and asked them, why did you quit the Lions? And their response was, the president wouldn't let us do anything. So since we weren't going to do anything, we quit. Well, now they're all back being Lions and they're really productive. Okay, coaching. Don't dictate. Coach. Help. Help people understand. The problem with coaching is mistakes are the best ways to learn. Unfortunately, they really are. And so don't berate somebody for having made a mistake, but coach them, teach them, okay? Lions University Course 123, Club Finances, again, that's the USA Classic Fund. Your agenda. You're going to have a meeting. Do I need one? Do I have to have an agenda? I mean, what's the agenda going to do for me? Maybe just a piece of paper. Okay. And the thing with the agenda is you have all this stuff in your head, but if you're like me, if I don't write it down, I'm going to forget half of it. And the reason you're going to forget half of it is because you're going to start discussion in the club. The club's going to go off in the weeds and you're going to have to bring it back into discussion. And now you've forgotten half of the stuff that you wanted to discuss. And it also gives a piece of paper for everybody else in the club to follow. All right? So you want to work with your secretary, your vice presidents, and your committee chairs on what's going on and what it is that you need to discuss at the club level. Review past meetings. Here, the minutes. And go back a couple months and look and see. There might be something on there that's old business that got forgotten. Send out the agenda prior to the meeting. Now, give it a week beforehand. Okay, your secretary can do that. Because there might be something somebody else, some other club chair or some other club member that wants to talk about, and you want to put it on the agenda. So let everybody have an input if they need it, but it goes through you. Just because they came to you and said, Mr. and Mrs. President, we need to discuss this, doesn't mean it has to be on the agenda. Have copies at the meeting. So this is your blueprint for productivity and effective meetings. Keeps you on track. Everybody else knows what's going on. So it's really a good thing. Have a good agenda. Again, meeting management course in the LCI Learning Center. Download the review of the time management techniques at LCI. Lions University Course 104. Effective club meetings. Okay. The procedure, so a body of rules followed by assembly. That's the procedures that you want to do. That's what dictates a good meeting, is everybody knows what they want to follow. Okay. And there's a call to order, kinds of motions, debate, voting table, rescind, reconsider motions, recognize speakers. Most everybody understands Robert's rules, okay? And understand it's a good way to be sure that everybody is used. So there's a first, a second, there's discussion, then there's a vote. That way everybody gets to participate in it, okay? You may have a discussion on something and it's not going anywhere and you want to table it because nobody knows what's going on. Okay, that's all part of Robert's rules. Now, understand Robert rules is a guideline. Okay? Some clubs, mine being one of them, we talk about something, we have full discussion on everything. Then we have a motion, a second, and we vote. Robert's rule says you have a motion, a second, then you have discussion, then you have a vote. As long as all of those happen, it really doesn't matter. Okay? Because everybody had their say, everybody knows what's going on, and then you, Mr. President, going, well, does somebody want to make a motion? So somebody raises that, I move, and then there'll be a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion passes or is disapproved. Okay. But understand, Robert's rules is a guideline. It's not hard and fast. The only ones that it's hard and fast for, government entities. Okay. If you want to see one, you can get this at www.robertsrules.com. Click on the FAQs. And if you really want to be nerdy, go to Amazon and get a copy of Robert's Rules. I have one. All right. Very educational.
Probably one in our.
What's that? What was that, Sherry?
Oh, I'm just mumbling.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. Okay. So, meeting without the minutes of all previous meetings, the secretary should have all of the meetings from the beginning of your year, from July 1st until July 30th. Okay. And the reason being is you're going to have a discussion and somebody's going to say something and somebody else will say, no, that was never in the minutes, or that's not what the minutes said. The minutes said this. No, it didn't. It said this. Well, Madam Secretary, do you have the minutes of 2 months ago? Oh, well, look, the minutes said this. This is what we're doing. And as a discussion, your secretary needs to have those. You as the CEO need to be sure that your secretary is prepared for every meeting. And your agendas. Have old agendas. Don't just throw them away. Keep them. Officer and committee lists. Have that with you so that you know who's in charge on any particular committee, so that you don't have to look like a fool. And so, who's in charge of the Mother's Day brunch this year? Well, they just talked about it in the last meeting. Okay? So you should have that there so that you know who's doing what, when, and where. Being prepared to handle any issues. Yeah, that's kind of tough because you may not know what the issue is. And saying, well, folks, I tell you what, let's table that until the next meeting when I have a time to look into things, or we all have a time to think about it. That's a good time to table something, but be prepared to handle those issues. Especially if you hear rumblings of something, be prepared. After the meeting, use a follow-up checklist and start working on your next agenda. You don't want to do your agenda for the meeting on Tuesday, Monday night, or Tuesday morning. Your agenda should have already been set up, ready to go, and sent out at least 5 days before the meeting so everybody has the ability to respond to it. Okay? But think about that. Start your new agenda the next day. Take those notes that you've made on your old agenda, everything was talked about, and start incorporating that into your new agenda. As the president or vice president presides over the meeting, there may be times when conflict arises, especially when you're talking about a committee that's doing something or whatever. Somebody didn't like the way it happened last year. These are all the changes we need to do to it. Okay. Remember, the president or the vice president is the standing authority and must understand how to manage these types of situations. It's tough if you've never had any conflict resolution training or anything like that. It's easy for you, the CEO, to say, All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's enough. Okay, let's just calm down here for a minute. All right. We've got two sides to this. Okay. We're going to go offline after the meeting and figure this out. That ends it right then and there. And so it's real easy. But you still have to deal with this. Okay. Because those two individuals, you know, they're both alpha males or alpha females, you know, and they want their way. You know, the buck stops with you. Learn how to manage group interaction. That's the hardest one to do, especially when there's a lot of discussion, because groups have a tendency to get into the weeds. And by that, I mean, you're talking about the Mother's Day brunch, okay? And you're talking about what pancake mix to use. And somebody's going to say, well, no, I went to get the pancake mix and the store didn't have any, so I had to use this. And now all of a sudden you're talking about what the store stocks and what the store doesn't stock. You're not talking about pancake mix. So you need to be careful in your interaction in the group that you don't get off into the weeds, because the members will do it to you in a heartbeat. Okay? The Lions Learning Center, conflict resolution. Lions University course, conflict resolution. Be familiar with the LCI dispute resolution guidelines. You know, I say this, but I've taken every one of those, and I've had all kinds of conflict resolution in my 24 years in the military and in my over 10 years in law enforcement. And it's something that you can't learn enough about. So be ready. Appoint standing, permanent, or special, single-use, limited time period chair and members. Again, remember what I said about how to pick them. Know who likes to do what. I mean, my club has members, they love to cook. And so, well, we've got the Mother's Day brunch coming up. You know, Mary Jo, would you like to chair that again this year? No, I wouldn't. Let somebody else will go, you know, Susie will go, I will. Okay. Well, who wants to help? And then 6 hands will go up, and they're all cooks, whether they be male or female, because they all love to help. Because I've got a male pancake flipper that I can't get off the grill every year. He just loves flipping pancakes. So you never know who you're going to get. Work with your vice and your select chairs and members on that. When you have a committee chair for a project, let them pick their members. Okay? Don't start dictating to these people, because now you're doing it and not them. You're not delegating. You're dictating. Assign your vice president to oversee, assist, enter, report, but not take over. So instead of you going to all of these subcommittee meetings, that's what your vice president does. Gives them something to do. Okay? Besides trying to be prepared when you're off golfing when there's supposed to be a club meeting. Of course, it never happens. So it gives them something to do. They can report back to you what's happening. You get to have a discussion with your vice president. It keeps them involved, and it actually helps them when they move up to president. Match members' interest, skills, and knowledge for assignments. We talked about that. Bring in some new blood, okay? Don't keep picking the old guard, because the new members are in it for a reason. They're in it to help and to be an active member of the club. And if they're not actively participating in something, then you're going to lose them. They're going to quit coming to meetings, and then you're going to say, all right, Steve, it's time for your dues. No, I'm done. And the reason he's done, because he's never been asked to do anything. And sometimes you have to ask as opposed to wait for them to volunteer. So don't just wait for volunteers. Ask the new people, what do you like to do? Okay. I like to pick up trash. Well, you'd be great on the highway committee. Oh, okay. But ask, get the new members involved. Provide job descriptions, old records. That's tough. When it comes to our Mother's Day brunch, I mean, we have a handful of ladies that know what to do, but we do have a list of products that we use, how many bags of pancake mix, how many dozen eggs, how many containers of syrup, all of those things so that we know that we have everything we need. So it doesn't make any difference who's doing it. And you know where you can find most of those descriptions? In the president's logbook or 3-ring binder for that committee. So you can open up the president's binder and open up where it says Mother's Day brunch, and there's the list of everything that we need to have it done. Okay, so you could actually make a copy of that, hand it to the Mother's Day brunch chair, and they're off and running. And you tell them, okay, if there's any changes to this list, just write them down here. That way we'll have them for next year. Regular reporting, well, that's finances, anything that you have to say with the club. Communicate regularly with your committee chairs via, well, I spelled that wrong, didn't I? Presidente. You know how many times I've looked at this stupid thing and never caught that? Okay. Communications is everything. Okay. Don't expect your members, your officers, and committee chairs to know it all. Okay. Even though they've been doing it for 20 years. It keeps you in the loop. So you're not blindsided. You're aware of progress, problems, and achievements. So the last thing you want is the Mother's Day brunch is tomorrow, and they come to tell you, oh, by the way, we don't have enough eggs, or we don't have enough of this, or the hall that we were going to use was booked by somebody else, and now we don't have any place to hold it. Oops. So if you'd have been working with them in the very beginning, because the top of that list says reserve the hall or the church or wherever you're planning on having it. Keep your committees focused, all right? Keep them all headed down the same road. And don't overlook follow-up when it's all over. The military taught us to do an after-action report on anything that we did. And it really makes a difference. So you have your Mother's Day brunch, call a special meeting of that committee, and have everybody sit down and say, okay, of all the clubs. So attend at least one, even though your vice president is attending and knows what's going on. Show your face. Let these committee members know that you care. Nope, I'm not here to dictate. I'm not here to tell you what's going on. I just want to find out what's going on. Nope, I'm just sitting here and watching. Okay. So ensure your elections comply with the Constitution and bylaws. This can really get you into a bag of worms if you've got somebody that knows what's going on in there and you try to circumvent it or do it wrong. It's just one of those things that you could really stop right in the beginning by ensuring you know exactly how the elections are supposed to be done by the Constitution and by your bylaws. Oversee the election or the delegate. Okay? Know what's going on. Don't let this one just pass it off to somebody and hope it gets done. Nope. This one's on you. The election is your responsibility as the president. Ensure the process is open and meets the deadlines. April 15th is the deadline for having your elections accomplished. And because after that, they all need to be input into LCI. That's your secretary's job. Review your standard club constitution and bylaws, your LA2. Be sure that you comply with it. Your bylaws, Article 3, Section 1 through 8. Appoint a nomination committee. So this is always tough because now you've got a committee of 1, 2, or 3 going around to all the members and saying, so do you want to be first vice next year or second vice? Are you interested in being treasurer? Are you interested in being the secretary? You know, how about the membership committee chair? You know, looking for those that want to participate. I think this is the hardest thing I had to do as president because a lot of people really want to participate. They want to do things, but they do not want to be in charge. They might pick a committee to be in charge with, but that's it. You say, hey, Mary Beth, how'd you like to be president? And all you hear is crickets. And there's Mary Beth walking out the door. She doesn't want anything to do with it. That's one of the reasons why a lot of clubs have presidents that run 4, 5, 6 years because they can't find anybody. But appoint a nomination committee and make them go to work. Okay? Then they submit the slate of candidates to you. And you take there's another mistake. You take nominations from the floor. They are permissible. Well, so everybody gets the slate. You're gonna ask, are there any nominations from the floor? Now, Robert's rule says you got to do it 3 times. Okay. Are there any nominations from the floor? Crickets. Are there any nominations from the floor? Crickets. There being no nominations from the floor, nominations are now closed and the slate of candidates is set. That's Robert's rules, okay? So you hold the election. You announce the results after election. Secretary submits the Lions Club officer report on my LCI of May 15th. I said April, sorry. May 15th, okay? Has to be done. Like I said earlier, the number of times I went into LCI as district governor and clubs still had old names and hadn't put in the new ones yet. It's all done electronically. It's so easy. And if your secretary doesn't know how to do it, PeggyTobin54@gmail.com. Give her an email, and she will instruct your secretary on how to do it. And if you tell my wife that I threw her under the bus, I'll deny it. No. She's the district administrator. She also does the secretary's training. So she's more than happy because from a district standpoint, it's easier to have your secretary keep up LCI than everything else because she also takes care of the web. And so she takes the information right off of LCI. If LCI is wrong, the information on the district website will be wrong. Okay. Within your club, how do you communicate? Okay. Club bulletins, emails. Is there a cork board somewhere that you can pin up stuff? Facebook. I'll just do these. Okay. In the website, montanalines.org, you're going to have district activities in the district newsletter. You're going to find out things that other clubs are doing. We're going to have information from LCI and LCIF. And you want to ensure that your committees report to the board of directors and to the club, okay? Because the board of directors may not necessarily know what a committee is doing. So a report from the committee chair is always apropos It is always needed. Okay. So publish clubs and board of directors minutes, whether you do that via email, whether you have a cork board, or somehow you want to be sure that you communicate within your club so that everybody knows. Now, we just do it by email and text. Well, guess what? I have several older folks that don't text. They don't use Facebook, and they barely use email. So how do you tell them that there's a meeting coming up? You call them. You have a member that's willing to call them by phone or to get together with them so that you keep them in the loop. All right? Outside your club. Well, why do I have to communicate outside the club? Well, how do you get a new member if you only communicate with inside the club? How does anybody else know what you're doing, what your LCI or what your Lions Club is doing in the community if you don't communicate outside your club? And establish who'll do this. Have a media person, okay? Somebody that's good at it. Again, don't assign it unless you have somebody that's good at it. We're fortunate my club has a particular lady that loves taking photographs and is really good friends with the local newspaper's editor. Okay? And so we're lucky and we have her, and she's our media person, and she takes pictures and we get stuff in the paper, and we always have stuff in the district newsletter. Okay. So your secretary, committee chairs, vice presidents, any of those people, be sure you are made aware of all respects for assistance. Okay. And I'm going to tell you, we had a gentleman that was down at the doctor's office, the eye doctor's office, and a mother walked in with their daughter, and she got her eyes checked, and the secretary at the time said, okay, well, we can get her new glasses. These are the frames. It's going to cost $265 for the exam, the glasses, or the lenses and the frames. And mom says, I'm sorry, I can't afford $265. There's no way. I'm on a very restricted budget, and I'm sorry, I can't afford it. Fortunately, one of my members was there and said, Miss Smith, I think maybe our local Lions Club can help you out. And she says, really? Says, let me find out. Okay. And so he came to the club, and the club authorized $265 out of our Sight and Hearing Foundation that we have to pay for the glasses for that young little girl. So just happened to be that way, but be aware of what is outside for assistance. So you might see some house that burned down and they need assistance. They're not members. The club can donate a couple $100, $500, $1,000, whatever you want to help them out. You can do that, but you'll know that because you know what's going on. Okay. Follow up with the responders. Just because you did something doesn't mean it happened. Check with them. Say, how did you spend that $500? Or did you get the $500? Oh, yes, I did. Thank you so much. Appoint a good public relations chair. Somebody that knows what's going on. Somebody that can write correctly and grammatically and help get it in the paper. And your LSAT website has sample press releases, and they change them all the time. Public service announcements to help so that you just plagiarize them or copy them and just do them. Lions University course 110, public relations. Send articles and pictures to the local papers. Now, I live up here in Sunburst, little town of 300. Our paper loves to have pictures of local things that are going on. Hey, it's just good PR. People like to see it in the paper. Actually makes the people want to read it better. Create a website or Facebook page. All right. So if you don't know it, your club would like to have a website. You can get one professionally made for free from the district. Okay, so the district will pay the first year $25. Okay, that's all it costs annually. And it's put together by Edge Marketing out of Helena. And it looks kind of like where the district was at. But we have a deal with Edge Marketing that if you have somebody that would like to maintain a website for the club, we can do that. You can get a hold of me, get a hold of my wife, Peggy, and we'll introduce you to Deanna at Edge, and we'll get you started on getting your own website. Okay? Facebook is a good one as long as you can keep up with it, but not everybody's on Facebook. Okay?
Cool.
There is a move towards TikTok and Instagram. Facebook is one of the older ones. The young kids are on TikTok or Instagram. So if you want to start bringing young kids in, you might think about TikTok or Instagram. There's a lot of them don't use Facebook anymore. You can go to eClubhouse. Okay, there it is. Twitter, Instagram. Okay. All right. Members look to the president for leadership. You're the engine in this train, and they're all going to go down the tracks that you have laid for the club. Right. And in some cases, when I looked at some of the clubs when I was governor, I saw where the club was at and realized that the leadership in this club was letting the club down. Okay? But that individual wanted to be president, they elected him, so, they had to put up with him for a year. Don't let that be you. Okay? This includes guidance. I've said it again, you're not a dictator. You're just a leader. Okay? Lead from the front, not from the rear. Give guidance. Motivate and help. Solve problems. Build a shared vision among club members. If all the members of the club know where they're going, then they're on board the train, and the train's going to go down the right tracks. Okay? And the club will be successful. Things will just start happening. But you need to be sure everybody's on board with it. Guide, encourage members toward reaching club goals, personal goals. Maybe somebody is a new member and they're a little afraid to do something. And you might say, Steve, why don't you take charge of this committee? All right? I think you do well. I will help you. Okay? And let's say they're not very good, but with your help, they might achieve something that they were really against. People do that in public speaking. Probably the one thing people hate more than anything else. I hated it. But now I have no problems in getting in front of a group and talking, as I've been talking for about an hour now. Provide leadership opportunities. I just said, be aware of leadership trainings. So this one. Encourage attendance at training. Point. Develop a mentoring program. Have some way to help those that have been doing it forever, help somebody that hasn't done it at all ever to learn how to do it, whatever it happens to be. Every member has an important role to play. Okay? And that's important to understand, because if they don't have an important role to play, you're going to lose them. Lead by example. Don't tell them what to do and then you do something else. MontanaLions.org. The reason I started this website is because I wanted a single place to go for you to discover anything in Lions. I found it very frustrating, even though I'd been second vice, first vice, and now governor. I had to remember all of these websites, LCI, LCIF, there's the district, good Lord, I couldn't remember them all. So I said, this district needs to have one place where you can go to find all of that. To go forward, get all the links, MontanaLions.org is where it's at. You only need one, MontanaLions.org, and it can take you anywhere you want to go in Lions. Okay? Past presidents, officers, experienced Lions. Don't think that you're all alone up there at the top of this heap. No, you've got other past presidents. You've got other experienced Lions. Some Lions that have been there for 30, 40 years. Okay? Get information from them. Let them help you. You know? Your GMT, your GLT, your zone region chairs, your district governors. The district is there to help. Okay? A lot of information, a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge at the district level. Let us help. We're the government, right? Lions Learning Center courses, developing leaders. The USA Canada Forum Bachelor's Program. I can't mention this enough. Okay. When I became president for the first time, I went here and did the bachelor's program, and I was amazed at all the information. I enjoyed it so much, I went back and did the master's program. And again, I learned a whole lot more. And now I'm doing the doctorate program. And so those are the 3 levels that you can do. There's a lot of information. In your transition, be sure your records are organized. You know, the last thing you want to do is go to the new president with a stack of paper and say, here you go, it's all yours. And it's just a pile of jumbo of pieces of paper. The more organized you can make it, the easier the transition is going to be. Now, that's not to say that the president doesn't do that to you as you take over the new one, but okay, meet and transfer, meet with new officers. Okay, when you're transferring a new treasurer, meet with the old one and the new one with you so that you can figure out where we're going and what we're doing. Okay, don't leave that new treasurer or new secretary off on their own. Coach, lead. Discuss transitional projects, what's going on. Ensure proper communications for ongoing projects. Okay. Recognize your Lions and their hard work and dedication. Now, as a president, you're going to have members and you're going to thank them for doing something. And they're going to say, oh, glad to do it. No, you don't, you know, I don't need to be thanked. I'm just glad to do it. But you know, when you give them a letter of recognition or give them a plaque, not a single one that I've given have it ever been handed back. I don't want it. They appreciate it. So the biggest ones is a Melvin Jones. Most club presidents don't understand that Melvin Jones costs you $1,000. And that $1,000 is something that you gain over time by giving funds to LCIF. $100 a meeting, $100 a month, $1,000 at the convention, whatever. That all adds up towards a Melvin Jones. And it's the highest honor that you can give anybody. I've had the honor of having given 2 of them. Right? But if you as a president go into the supply or the shopping part of LCI or LCIF, there's all kinds of plaques and letters and pens and all kinds of stuff that you can give towards recognition of something that somebody did. District awards, okay? Same way. If you go to convention, they give out awards to people that they know that have gone above and beyond. And it isn't just district members, it's club members, okay? Club awards, those are the things that you give out. As a president, you're the one person that has the ability to spend money without the club's authority. And that's to buy club awards, whether it be plaques, pins, certificates, whatever. You have the authority without going to the club to buy those. Now, buying that Maserati that you want, no, that's going to take club authority. Okay. Okay, review the objectives. Hopefully you understand your duties and your position. Again, you're the CEO. You're the leader. How to plan your year. What's expected of you at the meeting. Where to find your resources. They're all over the place. And how to enjoy your year. All right. So that being said, oops, that's not what I wanted. I want to open it up for any questions. Well, does anybody have any questions? Or did I completely baffle everybody?
I'd just say I'm not, don't have any questions, but there was some stuff that happened. There were questions that were answered, that things I didn't know. So I appreciate all the information I did receive.
Well, good. Thank you, Clay. I appreciate it. I hope you got something out of it.
Oh boy, yeah. And I have a great group of people here that have been here in Seeley Lake Lions Club for a long, long time that kind of keep me straight. So that's always a good thing right there.
Yep. So you've already learned that there's other individuals out there that you get information from. Okay.